electronic devices. If you wish to appeal any recommendation from this commission, the appeals cards are to our right. If you wish to speak in front of this commission, we respectfully ask that you fill out a speaker's card. And each side will be given 10 minutes to state their case with a 5-minute rebuttal. And if you would be so kind, if you wish to discuss the case or to have a conference afterwards, if you would leave the building as if you go back into the lobby area, it does echo back into the chamber. This time I would ask Commissioner Randolph to lead us in an invocation, followed by Commissioner Dougherty with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Father, once again, we come to you saying thank you for all the blessings you bestowed in our lives. We thank you for our families. We thank you for this parish, our government. Lord, we thank you for this commission, Lord, and we ask that whatever we do tonight, we make the right decisions that's in the best interest of all. In all these blessings, we ask in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. In our package is the August 4th, 2015 meeting minutes. Take a few moments to look over them if you haven't previously, and I would ask for a motion. Commissioner Matthews?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes as written.
Before we make a motion, there's one correction I'd like to see made, please. There was one item in there that it showed that I voted nay on, and that was item 4, and I did not vote nay.
We'll have the record corrected for
Just for
that,
the record.
Commissioner Lauren.
Didn't make any difference, but it,
Well, it's how you voted. It does make a difference. So if we would have that corrected for the record, and that being amended, Commissioner Matthews?
I would make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
So moved. Second by Commissioner Randolph. Is there any further discussion, any further comment? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. Staff, are there any postponement of cases this evening? Thank you. This is a,
TVs out here are not working.
I'm sorry, sir?
TV screens out here are not working.
If we could have our technical people, please. Sir, the lights are not working? Yes, yes, the vote calculated. Now it's working? No, the vote tabulation was,
No, that was fine.
yeah, that was fine. But again, the cameras out there aren't. I don't know, can we rotate one of these? Do we know, do they rotate? If so, we would have us look. If staff would be so
Staff, can
kind,
we find the
so
tech
kind
guy
to
and
get
see if
the,
he can
see
do
if we
something?
can find them. Mr. Shane?
Wish I could fix it. I happened to be here this afternoon for a BOA meeting, and there was a problem.
Here he
Either
comes.
intermittent power.
Oh.
They weren't able to run the recorder and a few other things. So I don't know if it's easily fixable.
We have the guy that can easily fix it if it is. Thank you, Jeff.
Are they coming on? No? We're back in business? One is, okay, well, that's close enough. We're good? ESPN Tuesday Night Football? Okay. Thank you for the comments. This is a public hearing. The public comments are respected and required if you so choose to do so. Zoning change request.
Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
I have a had a request to move ZC 1509066, which is number 2 on the docket, up to number 1. The gentleman that needs to speak has to leave as soon as possible to attend another meeting, and our request, we move it up. So move.
We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews, a second by Commissioner Dougherty to move case ZC 15-09-066 to the first position. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. ZC 15-09-066, existing zoning, I-1 Industrial District and HC-1 Highway Commercial District. Proposed zoning, I-1 Industrial District, HC-1 Highway Commercial District, and MHO Manufactured Housing Overlay. The parcel, 2.7046 acres. The petitioner, Jeffrey D. Shane. The owner, Rotolo Consultants, Incorporated. The parcel is located on the north side of Browns Village Road, west of U.S. Highway 11, Ward 9, District 14. Mr. Shane, or excuse me, staff.
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with commercial uses. Despite the fact that the north side of Browns Village Road is developed with commercial and industrial uses, staff does not object to the request, considering that the south side of Browns Village Road is almost exclusively developed with residential uses, including manufactured home. And we'd like to note that while it may appear that the requested zoning change to MHO could be considered as a creation of a mobile home park, the attached approved minor subdivision plan shows that it does not meet the definition of a mobile home park, considering that the parcels requested to be rezoned to MHO are not contiguous. At this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Mr. Shane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jeff Shane of the Jones Fussell Law Firm in Covington, P.O. Box 1810, and that's 70434. I represent both the owner and petitioner, Rotolo Consultants, Inc. If you are looking at the amendment to an existing minor subdivision that's in your packet, you may remember that you approved this particular amendment at last month's Planning Commission meeting, which obviously creates the lots in question. Tonight before you is a request to allow for MHO zoning on Lot 4-R and also Lot 3-R. I might add that you have previously granted approval for MHO zoning on Lot 5. That was done probably about 2 years ago. I believe the staff comments are self-explanatory as it relates to what we're trying to achieve. We believe this is another good opportunity to incorporate a residential component in the business atmosphere to provide for economic growth in this area. With that having been said, if any of you have any questions, I'll be glad to address them.
Thank you, Mr. Shane.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak in favor of this? Is there anyone in the public who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Randolph.
Yes, I'd like the motion to approve.
I have a motion by Mr. Randolph to approve. Commissioner, second by Commissioner Lauren. Commissioner Dougherty.
Yes, on the staff comments on the fact that they're not contiguous, and Jeff, this is probably going to be in your ballpark, but are those two corners, do they actually meet?
No, sir. Those, if you're referring to the two lots,
Yeah, there's two well, there's, if you look at the aerial and also the staff drawing, there's an opening between the two.
that's correct. The way the property was platted, there is a 10-foot buffer that's a non-buildable area that separates Lot 4R from the two lots in the front.
Okay.
So that they would not be contiguous and would in fact stay within confines to allow for MHO zoning and not get into the mobile home
Okay.
situation.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Matthews.
Yeah, I guess this is Jeff and staff. There's no problem with the concept here, but what is the description of the property. Where is the description of the property? I can't find anything that we have that describes specifically the lots. If you look at the survey, it looks like it might be part of Lot BA1 and Lot 4R, but is it all of Lot BA1? I don't think it is.
Do you have in your packet this amendment to an existing minor subdivision?
No, I do not.
Okay. That
Should
was
be there.
attached with the filing, and that's the plat that
Wait, no,
you,
okay, it says amendment to existing minor subdivision,
correct?
but what,
And it will show you Lot 4R,
okay?
which was just created by this commission last month,
Okay.
and then Lot 3R, which was previously created.
Yeah, we don't
Okay,
have
I
that.
wasn't sure because it's got the overlay of Lot BA1 in bold as
The-
Lot 4R. And
Lot
then
B,
there's some
Lot B-
smaller numbers, so I wasn't sure what the
Sure.
description of what we were trying to do was. I don't have a problem with the idea, but I just want to
I
make
think I
sure
can
that
give
when
you
we do
a sim-
this, we can adequately describe the
It is,
property.
it is accurately described. The prior minor subdivision plat created Lot 2R and Lot 3R, both of which front on Browns Village Road.
Okay.
Those two lots have not been changed, and there are, in fact, legal descriptions. That's a plat of record, and legal descriptions were submitted. In addition to that, this recent plat that you approved last month created Lot BA1, which is that 10-foot buffer.
Yeah, no, I saw all that, but there's nothing in the documentation that we have describes specifically a description of the lots. I have some pictures.
You should have had this.
Well, just something in here that we're going to vote on that says we're voting on Lot 4R and Lot 3R.
Yeah, 3R is noted on the plat.
Did you
Yeah, I know,
get the
but
legal
there's nothing
description
on
that
there.
I submitted?
Okay? And there's nothing on here, and there's really nothing on here that tells me. We just needed to make sure that the motion to approve approves the change in designation or the overlay on lots 4R and Lot 3R in this subdivision.
Yes, sir. I can tell you that legal descriptions was submitted and were advertised,
Okay?
and that the plat that you approved last month created 4R and 3R was already in existence.
Like I say,
So-
don't have any problem, but there's nothing in our packet that
Oh.
describes those two lot numbers. That was my problem.
Okay.
And if we amend the motion to include those numbers, I'll be happy. Okay, we haven't seen that. Okay, that's fine. Do I need to make a motion to amend? Mr. Chairman?
Yeah. We have a motion second. Yes, we would make a motion to
I thought
amend.
so. I'd like to make a motion to amend the original motion to say that the two lots we're talking about are lots 4R and Lot 3R in the subdivision plat as presented.
So moved. Do I
Second.
have a second? Second by Commissioner Dougherty. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I would vote on amending the motion. Please vote. The motion to amend passes. I would now ask that we have a motion by Commissioner Randolph, a second by Commissioner Loring, to approve. Please vote. Motion carries. Thank you. ZC 15-07-053, existing zoning, A2 Suburban District, proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 3.08 acres. Petitioner, council motion. The owner, Edsel and Anita Jones. The parcel is located on the southeast corner of Weimer Road and Williams Road, west of Louisiana Highway 437, Lee Road, being 19416 Weimer Road, Covington, Ward 3, District 2. Staff?
This requested zoning change from A2 to HC2 was presented to you in July as well as in August. Staff is has not changed his recommendation, still recommending the denial of the HC2. After further review, just as for information purposes of the HC1 zoning, if the component or the portion of the building that is developed as a warehouse does not exceed 3,000 square feet, then there's a possibility to go to HC1 if it's the wish of the commissioners. Also, after speaking with the owner, he would like to approach the podium and see if there's a possibility to reduce the size from 3 acres to maybe something smaller.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak in favor of this? So, you would,
I guess that would be me. My name's Edsel Jones. I'm here for my mother, Anita Jones, who owns the property. I'm sure y'all are tired of seeing me here, but trying to help the residents in the area to feel a little better. We're trying to reduce the size of it. It was my understanding that the size of the land was the problem, more of a problem than the building. So I'm proposing to cut like an acre off of that. I don't know the exact dimensions, but it will be on the side of the building and reduce it probably to close to 2 acres. Yes.
Helen, do you have a recommendation to what it would be?
This is what is requesting here is to keep 150 feet Williams, 374, and then zone this.
So there'd be a line that came back here, approximately an acre, whatever that might be.
Be 150 by 374.
Okay. If you would show that to the commission and make a public statement. Okay. Okay. Okay, we'll explain. We'll explain. Oh, yeah. So it was covered, you can reduce it. Okay. That's right. Gotcha. Helen, if you would please explain what was taking place on the parcel that they would take out?
as per Mr. Hetzel here, and I'm just repeating, what he conveyed to me here, is that if you take from the corner of Williams and Weimer, he's requesting to keep a portion of the property, which would be 150 feet facing Weimer Road by 374 deep along Williams, that would remain A2. And his request is to rezone the remaining portion of the property to HC2.
Okay. And Mr. Jones, that's what you're proposing, to amend your submission to take it from 3.08 to, as Helen stated, less the 150 by 374?
Yes, sir.
And sake of argument, that might be an acre, but there's exact dimensions.
Correct.
Okay. So the public understands as well, it was advertised for the entire parcel. Therefore, it is permissible for the petitioner to reduce the size if the petitioner so chooses to do so without having to re-advertise, because the entire lot was properly posted as such. Do you have any further comments, Mr. Jones?
I don't think so. I think we've heard them, over and over, so we're just trying to reuse something that's been used for 45 years with no problems. It's just a little country, business that we're trying to keep going.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? If so, we have two cards here. A Ms. Sober. Okay, that's fine. Yes, if you may, please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Sober. The last name is spelled S-O-B-E-R, and I live at 19350 Weimer Road. My father owns the property, but he bought it for my children and I, and we've lived there for 7 years and 3 months. And our concern with this is not actually what Mr. Etzel's wanting to do with the property right now. I guess it's more of the long term. I don't plan on moving anytime soon. I plan on having that property for a long time. And if he ever sells it or does not own it any longer, I guess our concern is what's going to happen to it after he's through with his mom and pop store, or whatever. Right now it's really quiet. He has limousines, I guess, that come in and out of there, but in the 7 years, I've maybe only seen 3 limos in all the time that we've lived there come in and out of that area. And there are children that catch the school bus right on that road. We have multiple families. My children do not catch a school bus, but when we leave in the morning, there's multiple families. Their kids are standing on the roads. In the evenings, the kids ride the bikes on there. And I guess our concern is, if we're going to bring a high-traffic public in and out, that road is, like we said last week, it's very, very narrow. You have to stop for school buses. You have to stop for 18-wheelers. And what's there now, there's really basically no traffic coming in and out of the business that he has there. In the 7 years that we've lived there, it hasn't actually been an air conditioning business, which I understand was there before. But there are 3 or 4 very large bays where you could park multiple vehicles to come in and out, which wouldn't be the worst thing. It's just that if that's not what he used it for and just cleared that whole lot, what would it be? What could it be? In 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, when I have grandkids and great-grandkids, what's the possibility of that down the road? I think that he has great intentions, but he's not always going to own that property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg and Bev Folse.
My name is Greg Folse. We live at 75093 Williams, across the street from the affected property. And if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like Mr. Jones has just kind of drew a line and cut that property off facing Williams, all of it? Is that correct? The entire frontage of Williams? Yeah. Right now on that property is a mobile home. This first started at 5.25 acres or so. And to me, that says that his intent is to develop the 5¼ acres in addition to the building that's there. Has anyone here seen the property? Ms. Casabon, has anyone else has? We have some pictures of it in case y'all would like to see what the roads and the building looks like. Is that acceptable to present this to the commission?
Hey, if you'll give it to staff, we'll provide it. Thank you.
Thank you. And so second of all was the change from A2 suburban to highway commercial because it's not on the highway. It's a quarter mile off of the highway. So I came away with the impression, right or wrong, that this property is going to be developed, possibly divided into tracts and more buildings going up. So that's, like I said, right or wrong, that's the impression that I had from it. An increase in commercial traffic would bring some big problems, as Ms. Sober said. She stated it very well. The street, in its present condition, can't handle commercial traffic. At this point in time, there is no commercial traffic in and out of the building. It is, I'm sure it's not a licensed business. It's, it doesn't have any customers, so to speak, or any staff or employees or anything like that. In addition to congestion, we figure that if a lot of it is paved, we're going to increase the runoff, the drainage, and the low spot behind Spells will now become a flood spot when it rains, blocking the street. There's surge going into the ditch right now from the trailer, and I imagine that the building, which was built in the 60s, I believe, and maybe added onto a few times, it didn't have a permit either back then, which means that the sewage system there is going to be very inadequate if you bring 8 people in there. Now we're going to have something that gets used 2-3 times a day or even a few times a week, and it's going to become all of a sudden a rather stinky situation there. I'm not sure whether or not he would be required to upgrade the sewer system if that building was to be leased. If it stayed in his name and the utility stayed in his name, it's possible it may not be. And it would be a hazard for all the children that are on that street. There's a lot of kids on that street. Of course, there'll be increased noise from the additional traffic. There'll be lighting in the back, business lighting that will disrupt, possibly an increase in crime in the area, and possibly even a decrease in property values. And like Ms. Sober, Bev and I plan to stay there for a long, long time. This is going to be our last home here. I was a little concerned that Mr. Jones didn't know whether or not he owned the fire station land. I would think that would be settled pretty good. What is the tract now that it's been reduced to what, about 1.5 acres? 2.08, I guess, if you cut 1 acre off. The last time, Mr. Jones didn't readily acknowledge that there were any other buildings on the property. But there is a trailer there where people live, and it's kind of run down. He took exception when I called this building dilapidated, and I'm sorry, maybe it's not, but it doesn't look very good. And I don't think anybody here would really like to have that across the street from where they live. It was like that when we moved in, and we knew that, and we kind of keep an eye on it. Mr. Jones?
And that's where the odorous effluent is coming out into the ditch from that trailer. It looks like, I'm not sure.
Yeah. We know that Mr. Jones stated that he had an exception, a grandfathered zoning for as long as he or maybe his parents or their heirs had a business there. Well, he also admitted that for the last 3 or 4 years he's not met the conditions of that waiver. There is no business there per se. It's basically used as storage, which is fine. We like that. That would be wonderful if he was to paint the building up and make it look a little more presentable. He does a good job of keeping the grass cut. But the building needs some attention. And if it was to continue to be rented as storage, that would be fine, as opposed to a warehouse. Ms. Casabon stated that the Spells, had been on the corner forever. Yeah, that's true. Spells is, however, a great benefit to the neighborhood. We look on Spells in a positive light. And this is not next door to Spells. This is a quarter mile away. And in that quarter mile between the driveway to Mr. Jones' building and Spells are a dozen residential tracts and no commercial interest whatsoever. There's no businesses there. This is an island of highway commercial surrounded by a sea of residential lots. The neighborhood norm is 1 acre.
And Spells is actually on a highway, Highway 437.
It is. So I'm pleased to see the amount of the land cut down, but I'm also disheartened to hear an attempt to make it highway commercial. Is that really necessary? Because if you remember at the first meeting, a gentleman stood up there and said, well, highway commercial, that could be a goat slaughterhouse, and he makes a good point. And so did Ms. Sober, that when this land is eventually sold, if it comes with a highway commercial, it could be a sausage plant, it could be anything, you know, and that would be legal, right? I mean, that's all within the encompass of that. So we find that the property is inappropriate because of its location for highway commercial. Maybe there's a solution that allows Mr. Jones and his family to get a little income from this without causing worry and uncertainty and possibly even danger of a highway commercial in this residential area. Could we maybe maintain the A2 suburban and grant him a furtherance on the exception where and just make an exceptional case here that he can do a business there without having to change the zone? And upon sale of the property, the zoning reverts back to A2 suburban 1-acre home tracts.
Excuse me 1 second. Ma'am, were you wanting to speak as well? Okay, I would ask if you close so you can yield, because you only have less than a minute left.
Okay, well, we surrender them. You can make one constituent happy, or you can make about several dozen residents happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If you'd like to approach,
Me and my wife want to speak, if you don't mind.
please come to the podium, state your names and address, please.
Okay,
And-
my
and
name
that-
is Darrell Tujo, and my wife's name is Kathy.
Okay, and I would also ask you to fill out a speaker's card when
Okay,
you're
sure.
finished. Thank you.
And we live at 19399 Weimer Road, which is directly across from this track. Okay? I was here in July. My wife couldn't go because she had to work, and I came here in August. And I have a question. Why highway commercial when it's not on a highway? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, you'd think you'd have a highway for a highway commercial, right? Can anybody help me out there? This is not on a highway. This is like 3 blocks off of a highway.
All right, you can state your statement, sir, and we'll listen to your statements.
Okay, so okay, thanks. So no one can answer that. Okay, this is my question. When I came here in July, it seemed like nobody understood, okay, what exactly was being asked to be done, including Mr. Jones. And I'm friends with Mr. Jones, and I'd like to help him out any way I can. But if you're looking to make some money here, as Mr. Jones says he needs to, then he can sell these as residential properties, and nobody could complain. So, because we haven't had clarity, you know, I have now become a little leery about the whole process, because I don't know what's going to go there. And, you know, I just wish you would consider that it seems like we're going to make an exception for one over the many that say, we like residential. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
My little comment is this, because I drive out of my driveway and boom, I'm in his front yard. I agree with everything this gentleman has said. I love our neighborhood. We came there 2002. We now have 9 grandkids. And Spells is heaven to us. We take our walks to the corner. We have to be careful because, remember, I hear all the traffic from Lee Road. You have to really be careful. I've almost gotten killed, you know. Pray for me, I drive Lee Road. But we go to our little Spells. We watch the traffic. We teach the kids to get off the road, to stop when cars come. And we can actually ride down Weimer a little, but it's Williams that we can really ride. We have to watch across the street, all these little kids. I want to live there too. This is our last house. And I don't want to say that, but it is. I don't want to move. He's put a beautiful porch on. We have a gorgeous little house. It's our house. I do not want to move. And I like Mr. Jones too. He's always been nice. But please don't let anybody change that little neighborhood. I don't want to move, and I love it, and I love the safety of it right now, as safe as it can be. With that, it's like, oh, holy moly. I'll be a patient. Thank you.
Thank you. If you would fill out a speaker's card. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jones, you have 5 minutes for a rebuttal, if you so choose.
I hate to be redundant, but I know anything's possible, but nothing's happened to this little piece of property in 50 years. Nobody has called, asked anything about renting it, buying it, nothing, okay? Not one house. Mr. Darrell here, he's the only house that can see this building from his front door, and it's kind of candy-cornered. Otherwise, the whole property is surrounded by underbrush, and unless, you know, Walmart or somebody comes in, you know, it's just going to be a little bitty thing, if that. I mean, I'm not optimistic, but I'm trying, and I think I understand their concerns, but I think they're a little bit overreacting, and that's all I have to say. We'll be good neighbors. I'll be good neighbors. I'll control what goes in and what doesn't go in there if you approve it.
Thank you, sir. Would anyone wish to make a final statement on rebuttal to Mr. Jones? Seeing no one, at this time I would close it to the public and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Willie, would you wish?
Yeah, I had a question. Helen, you mentioned something about it could be HC1 may be possible if so much square footage of the warehouse would only be used. I don't know if Mr. Etzel's in terms with that or what, but that would.
Yes, Mr. Willie, let me pull the regulation so I can read it. Basically, it allows for the office warehouse as long as the warehouse used does not exceed 3,000 square feet. So the warehouse itself, you could have exceeding, you know, office in other, but the warehouse itself cannot exceed 3,000 square feet.
So I don't know the size of the warehouse. I mean, is it more than 3,000 or less than 3,000?
I don't know, to be honest. It's close one way or the other.
But that would, you know, reduce a lot of fears of being HC2 versus HC1, and also the fact that it's been reduced in size. You know, I could entertain that idea. But I would need to know specifics as far as if the petitioner is willing to go to the HC1 based upon the square footage.
I would if it helps. I hate to drag this out for you guys and for my neighbors and what have you, but if that's what it takes, looking at the square footage of the actual warehouse, I didn't know there was another option. But you know, we're not going to make it industrial or whatever, you know, H2 requires. I don't know all the.
See, I understand that you got a commercial building in a residential area, and
Right.
So what do we do with it?
Well, the building was there
and
first.
That's what I'm looking at. And I would like to see the less impact on the neighborhood as possible.
Right, me too.
So, I mean, it's up to you to make the request. If that's possible, then I could consider something.
My options are you vote on it as is, or to make another request and check the square footage of the warehouse where it becomes a different zoning classification.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Well, I'm not opposed to doing that. I just don't want to make y'all have to go through this again, or them. But if that's what it takes, I guess we could do it.
But it's a big difference between HC1 and HC2, you know, it's what can actually go there.
I have no idea what it is, to be
So,
quite
like the lady who
honest.
said earlier, she's worried more about the future, and I
Sure,
am too.
sure.
So,
Well, I'll be glad to measure it and find out for sure. Does that mean we have?
Helen, what would happen if Mr. Jones would make the request to go to HC1 and find out that the warehouse is slightly larger than 3,000?
He would have to modify it.
He'd have to
You would have to reduce the size of it.
Okay.
Helen, number 20 on HC1, would that affect this?
that's possible.
Helen? Number 20, the warehouse or distribution centers. How would that affect this building? It looks like it says maximum of combined use totaling 9,000 square feet or less of gross floor area. Could he come in under that?
Well, we're talking more in that sense of a distribution center. In this case, it's not a distribution center.
But it's a warehouse.
It's warehouse and distribution center.
So
What's a distribution center?
It's, I mean, there's actually a definition,
yeah,
and we could, that we
there's
can
there's
refer
a very
to.
clear definition of a distribution center. Commissioner Casabon, you have a question?
Now, I just have, I'd like to clarify some things or some points that people had made. There was a question about, we did have a classification of what was considered conditional use, that a particular area could be used only on certain conditions with certain things in it, and it was very, very specific. But when we went through the comprehensive rezoning, this is why this man's here. He's been there for 40 years. People, I think y'all said 2002, so 10, 12 years, I understand that. But the family business was there. That's how, even though it's not a highway, it makes us sound like, well, we're putting it in the middle of a neighborhood. We're not putting it there. It has been there. And he is just trying to use what he has had in his family. So we have mixed feelings, but understand, trying to protect you, that we tried to, and that's what my suggestion was, is that the amount of land that was too much to rezone is an HC. So he has compromised and came down just to meet the needs of being able to rent this building in some capacity. He has come down to an acre, so it's 2 acres now. So he has reduced that. And in doing this, it's just hard because a lot of people have moved in the middle because of our comprehensive rezoning. We find ourselves in the middle of people who have been here and had businesses, and they've got caught in this situation and having to come back to try to use something that they've had for years. And I understand that these are your homes and that you have come in to the parish, and there has to be some compromise somewhere that the people that have had businesses here can still function and use their property that they've had for years because of this comprehensive rezoning. If we had not had that in this particular area, there has been businesses, there has been things on the Lee Road, and like I said, for as long as I can remember, their business has been there. So I think with the compromise of the 2 acres, the size of the building, we don't know right now if it's probably no more than 3,000 square feet, if it is a little more. I'm going to make a motion to approve the HC2 with the, it's the 2 acres, what he had stipulated today, because it has been there. He has been a good neighbor, and I know that it is a matter of being able to use something that you've already had and not taking away something from somebody that's been here for that long.
I would like to say something in response. I would just rather consider the HC1, Martha, if the building fits within that category.
So does he have to come back?
No,
And-
he could entertain us with that change right now if he wishes.
And then if
He could either
they said
change
it would
his-
not.
One at a time, please.
Question is, if it is not, if we approve, which is fine with HC1, but if I think he needs to see what can be in there.
But he could also
And
reduce his
also-
he could also reduce his warehouse to 3,000 square foot if it was exceeding. He extend his office space, whatever. But it's up to you, Mr. Chairman.
But my point is does he have to come back or go back before y'all in order, if it is over the 3,000 square feet, or he just doesn't use how would he do that?
When he comes forward to try to lease it to a potential tenant or, sell the property, the future user of this building will have to bring us a plan of the building showing that the warehouse portion does not exceed 3,000 square feet. And if it does, then,
That's for the
modification
occupant
to the
that he
building.
leases
will
it
have-
to? The occupant that he leases it to would do that?
Yes, or himself, and, or modification to the building will be required to reduce it to 3,000 if it's over 3,000.
So it sounds like to me if
It's the-
Mr. Jones is willing to entertain that, I would
But
throw out that you postpone the case, let him measure it, and if he wants HC1 to come back, if not, then there's risk if it's greater than 3,000
You can
square
reduce it,
feet.
though.
He can demise part of the
And-
building.
And my suggestion is that he also looks in, that we give him what is allowed in the HC1, if that
Right.
meets what he,
Right.
you know, wants to do with it.
Then he'd have to
that
come
we're
back if it
imposing.
doesn't fit.
Well,
Start
that's what
over.
I'm asking, does he
He'd
have
have
to
to
come?
start over.
No.
Hey, what, if we give him the HC1, and he accepts it, and it passes, and it goes to the council, and he goes home and says, oop, this won't work, he's gotta start over. Go from
That's my
HC1 to
point.
HC2.
My understanding is from staff that in the event that anyone would ever use that building and it didn't comply with HC1, then they would have to take care of that. To get a permit, to get a license or whatever, it would have to be 3,000 square feet or less. And only you might know that at this time.
Right. I don't know the exact dimensions of it. I'd have to, I mean,
So-
I think
Then
it's
we
going
can
to be
again,
postpone it,
what I
let
would-
you go check,
What I-
come
what
back
I-
again next
what-
month.
What I would propose then is, if you wish to go forward as an HC2, then the commission would take that under consideration and grant it or not. If you wish to do an HC1 and you think that the commission may be more supportive of that, I would recommend we postpone it, because if we give it HC1, and if it does pass, and as Commissioner Matthews said, it does go to the council, and it does not comply, then you're going to have a problem. But those are your decisions.
Well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You can vote it no, and then I can reapply under HC1, is that correct?
Certainly.
Would that be the case?
Certainly. Or you could appeal it to the council at that time, say HC1 to the council, you have your dimensions, and then the council can make the decision.
Okay. Sounds good for me.
You want to, so HC1, if we vote now on HC1?
No, you'd have to go for HC2
No.
now.
Vote on HC2, and then I'll,
Okay.
you said
Appeal.
approach the
Well,
council.
you have the right to
H-
appeal regardless of what this commission recommends to the
Okay.
council.
But the other classification would be a whole new process, or did you say I would approach the council with that? The HC1?
When you go to the council, if this matter is voted down at this time, you have the right to appeal. And then when you appear before the council in your appeal, you do have the ability to reduce down
change,
to
okay.
HC1.
Okay.
And it'll be subject to your, taking the dimensions of the structure, you'll know whether or not it fits.
Okay, that sounds good.
So with that, this time Commissioner Casabon has made a motion to approve HC2. We have a second by Commissioner Richardson. Commissioner Randolph.
Oh, I don't think my suggestion at this point is gonna matter because we have a motion on the floor. It was, so I'm going to yield to the vote of what's on the floor now.
Commissioner Dougherty.
I have a question on the folks that brought the pictures. I don't remember now exactly who it was, but there looked like to me it was referred to as a mobile home, but it looked like a travel trailer. I don't know if you've seen them or not, Helen. And there was a heavy equipment truck that was apparently parked right in that area. Helen, on a travel trailer that's parked on this property and being lived in, I want to say permanently? You're saying that there's not?
I was maybe answering your question before you asked. I'm listening.
Well, there was, and I don't know where the pictures are there. It's right, okay, look in the book there, the pictures, and you'll see what appears to me as a travel trailer.
Towards the back, I think, Helen.
It's toward the back. Now, in the aerial, I couldn't see any mobile home, and if you look where that travel trailer is, it's under a tree, okay? And then there's another picture there of some heavy equipment trucks.
That would not be permitted.
That would not be.
It would not be permitted.
Okay, so if we go to the HC2, then whoever that travel trailer belongs to, if it's being occupied, it's going to have to either be moved or something else done because they can't continue to live there,
That's correct.
okay? And I'm not real sure about the heavy equipment truck either. That's not a pickup truck there. So, you know, I'm not real sure that even meets the HC2.
So we would have to investigate.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Matthews?
Well, I know we're talking about this as a piece of property that had been in the family for many years, and they operated a business there for many years. It's my understanding that the business that they operated there for many years has long since been shut down. One lady indicated for the 7 years she's lived there, that business has not been operating. It appears quite obviously that the gentleman whose family owned that business is now looking to sell the property, not operate his family business. So the argument that, you know, we want to let people continue their family businesses, to me, falls on deaf ears. The new description of the property, there was some talk about it only fronting Warmer Road, and that's, I don't believe, the case. It will front Williams and Warmer, but only the first 150 feet of the property on Williams will be used. While the suggestion that maybe this piece of property could be used in the future for something like a slaughterhouse, I think is way over the top, because I don't think that's in HC1 or HC2. However, HC1 and HC2 are very, very intense. This could be a liquor store under HC2. Could be a food store, public parking lots, a very large number of 35, 36 different items. Drive-in restaurant, I'm pretty sure we wouldn't want that in the middle of a residential area. Commercial kennels, pretty sure we wouldn't want that either. Lodging, 100 rooms or less. That doesn't seem like it's appropriate in a residential area. All of these things will be allowed in the future. And it seems to me pretty obvious that this gentleman is planning on selling or leasing or renting or getting rid of this property. So these are the things we have to look at, because he's not going to own the property, and he's not going to run a little mom and pop air conditioning here. I think HC2 is absolutely ridiculous. HC1 is better, obviously, but I don't think either HC2 or 1 is appropriate for this neighborhood. It just appears to be way, way too intense. And yeah, it was a little mom and pop business many years ago, but that times have changed. That isn't what this piece of property is now, and that's not what the neighborhood is now, and I would suggest we vote this down completely.
Commissioner Casabon?
Did you, Mr. Jones, have your limos there for years? You used that as a place of business for your limo service? So it has been used in some capacity as a business in those years. And I don't see him sell, if he's going to, wanted it all, why would he reduce it to just the acre and a half? And I have to, I didn't hear anywhere in these discussions about he's looking to sell it. Now, it may happen down the road, but we can't assume that's not our job. It's to look at the zoning for this area and what has been there, is what I consider.
Okay. This time, I will cease discussion. We have a motion and a second to zone it as HC2. I would ask for a vote. The motion is denied. You do have the right to appeal to the council. ZC 15-09-067, existing zoning, PBC1 Planned Business Center, proposed zoning HC3 Highway Commercial District, the parcel 3.507 acres, the petitioner Mark Salvetti, the owner Marmont Properties LLC. The parcel is located on the east side of Sterling Boulevard, south of I-12, north of Brewster Road, Ward 1, District 1. Staff?
The 2025 Future Land Use Plan calls for the area to be developed as a planned district with residential uses and conservation areas. The site is currently zoned to be developed with office spaces in a campus-type setting. Considering the proximity of other commercial uses, staff does not object to the request. Note that the RBCO Regional Business Center overlay will remain in effect as it was previously approved under ZC 1308-063. Staff recommends request for HC3 designation be approved.
Thank you. If you would please state your name.
Yeah, Townsend Underhill, representative of Mormont Properties. I'm with Sterling Properties. You want my address as well?
Certainly.
109 North Park Boulevard, Suite 300, Covington, 70433.
Thank you.
You want me to say a few things about this request?
Certainly. Speak in favor of it.
This is for River Chase development, and I'm the developer for River Chase. We're seeking to put a rooms-to-go, single tenant, 36,000 square foot building on this parcel. It's about 3.5 acres. When we went through the comprehensive rezoning process on this land, it was zoned PBC 1. It was our understanding that the PBC 1 zoning would allow for some retail uses. We believe this use is consistent with that. In the final interpretation based on this use and the fact that it's proposed to be a separate lot of record, it's been determined that we need to change the zoning in order to comply with the true definition of the PBC 1 use. It does allow for some retail. We've built a restaurant out there, a Zoe's Kitchen restaurant. So this would be right next to the Zoe's Kitchen. There's a pond on the interstate if you're familiar with the location. The building will sit closest to the interstate, kind of in more of a new urbanism design, and the parking will be behind the building, so you won't see it from the interstate. I've got some renderings and some pictures of the building that's proposed. If you'd like to see them, it's a very nice four-sided retail structure. HC2 zoning would actually allow for this size of a retail use, but the request for HC3 is for the purpose of the regional business campus overlay that Helen referenced, because HC2 is not a qualifying zone under that. So it would not allow for the use for us to actually take advantage of the regional business campus overlay, which would require additional land, not allow for proper signage for this use, and really kind of create an island for landscape buffers and no-cut areas around it. So in order to make it fit in with the overall plan, that's why it's a request for HC3.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Sandra.
Chairman, council or commission members, Sandra Slifer. I'm here representing the Association of Associations that the AOA did meet. We discussed the project in general terms. Councilman Dean and I then did meet with the developers, and they exhaustively answered all of our questions that we had for them. That I'm pleased to say that the AOA is in support of this project. We would, however, urge the commission and the staff to revisit the RBCO ordinance so that in the future, perhaps buildings such as this could be approved in that overlay district using an HC2 or an HC2A zoning designation. But we are comfortable, and that the design of this building really will continue to enhance the look of River Chase, and they're doing a good job, and we hope to see them continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it to the commission. Commissioner Lauren.
Yes, I'd ask the commissioners to look in their packet. About the third or fourth page in this one is like the Google Earth photograph. You look at that one,
The overhead?
the overhead.
Okay.
Yeah. I rode out there today and took a look at the property. If you look at this property on the top, that's the interstate. If you see in the little notch that's cut out of the property, that's a fast food restaurant. And if you look on the left-hand side, that's the parking lot of Sam's store. And right across behind Sam's store is a Holiday Inn Express. So if this isn't the right place to put this kind of business, I don't know where in the parish we would put this kind of business. So with that thought in mind, I would like to make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Lawrence, second by Commissioner Casabon. Commissioner Matthews.
I just have one question. It looks like there's a detention pond partially on this property. Is that going to remain, or what will happen to the detention?
Yeah, that's a good question. I thought that might be where Commissioner Lauren was going. It's actually a water quality pond. So it's for water quality, not detention. But yes, it's actually going to be partially relocated. So the building will actually sit on part of that pond, the west side of that pond. It'll be relocated to the east side of that pond. So part of this project is we'll be relocating a portion of that pond. None of that pond is actually in this property. Part of the pond part of what we're rezoning is in the property, but that'll ultimately become dry land. We've done this one time before, out in front of the shopping center, out in front of Target and JCPenney.
Mm-hmm.
We filled in a portion of a pond where the approvals had changed on the drainage approvals with some excavated materials from a drainage canal that we dug, and then we built what is now Men's Warehouse, and there's a John V. salon and spa in there as well.
Humor me, what's a water quality pond?
Difference between water quality and detention is for the purposes of retaining and holding water, such to meter it into the system slowly. Water quality, on the other hand, is to take the first, in this case, inch of rain that gets the most sediment from parking areas or impervious surfaces, oils and other materials, and to hold that so that it soaks to the bottom and that the clean water stays to the top, but it does not detain water and meter it out, only just that first little bit of water. So under the approvals here, it was determined years ago by the parish and the engineering department and the Corps of Engineers that because of the location of this property further south in the parish, it was better to get this water to the river, the unpolluted water to the river quicker, which is why we were able to fill in a portion of that pond that we did, because then it would not hit the river at the same time as water from the north part of the parish, because they were hitting it at the same time, and so it was overloading the river in this area. So this was a way to get some of that water out there quicker,
So
but still keep the
you will
unpolluted.
move the part that's on this property over?
It's the first thing
or
you'll
same
see happen
size?
on this project is you'll see that portion of the pond relocated.
Excellent. Answer my question. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Lauren?
No, I'm through.
Oh.
I'm sorry,
Okay. I know this is, you're passionate about this part of the parish, so. Absolutely. We have a motion by Commissioner Lauren, a second by Commissioner Casabon to approve. I would ask for a vote. Motion carries. ZC 15-09-068, existing zoning, NC1, Professional Office District. Proposed zoning, ED1, Primary Education District. The parcel, 21,600 square feet. The petitioner, Paul D. Reese. The owner, SHS Foundation and SHS Holdings, Inc. The parcel is located on the east side of 8th Street, on the west side of 7th Street, and on the north side of Iberville, being lots 11, 12, 13, 14, 7, and 8, Chichamba Subdivision, Ward 4, District 4. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the area to be developed with a mix of commercial and residential uses. Staff does not have any objection to the request, considering that the site is surrounded on the south and east sides by commercial uses, and that the ED1 zoning district allows for school facilities, which could be compatible with the surrounding area. Just to note here that the zoning change is being requested to make the existing Montessori school, which faces Iberville Street, conform to the appropriate zoning, and also to allow the expansion of the use in an existing adjacent building as shown on the aerial. And at this time, staff would like to recommend approval.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Paul Reese, the petitioner for myself and for SHS Foundation. This property, as Helen mentioned, is an existing Montessori school. This is a small class size school, presently around 32 students. If any of you are familiar with the Montessori style of education, it's not a large elementary school, it's a small, very restricted size. There's a building next door that is not presently used as a school, and they would like to expand to increase somewhere around 50 students. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have, and the principal and owner of the school is here as well.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this case? Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? Seeing none at this time, I close it to the public and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews?
Yeah, I've just got one question. It appears from the aerial that there are all existing buildings on this property. Can you tell me what those buildings are, and are you planning on using those buildings for the Montessori school, or are you planning on adding new buildings or what?
Yes, sir. The building at 4441 Iberville, which is at the corner of Iberville and 8th Street, was built in the 90s as a daycare, and it's been used as a daycare and pre-K for many years. The other building is pre-existing. It's I guess you would explain it as it's a quaint cottage built mid-90s. And those are the only two structures. There will not be any new structures. There will be a small playground area. But at this time, we don't have any plans for larger buildings.
Okay, but those two buildings will be used for Montessori classes and
Yes,
like?
sir.
Okay. All right, that answers my question. I'd make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Matthews, second by Commissioner Willie. Commissioner Richard? We have a motion by Commissioner Matthews, a second by Commissioner Willie to approve. Please vote. Motion carries.
Thank you.
ZC 15-09-069, existing zoning, I-1 Industrial District, proposed zoning, HC2 Highway Commercial District. The parcel, 20,000 square feet. The petitioner, Merlin E. Herberger, Jr., the owner, Merlin E. and Sylvia Herberger, Jr. The parcel is located on the southwest corner of Louisiana Highway 59 and Soul Drive, being 70271, Louisiana Highway 59, Abita Springs, Ward 3 and 4, District 5. Staff?
The 2025 future land use plan calls for the site to be developed with commercial uses. Staff does not have any objection to the request, as there are some existing commercial uses in the area. Note that the zoning change is being requested to allow commercial uses within the existing multi-occupancy building on the site. Staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Mr. Herberger?
Yes, I'm here representing him. He's at a family reunion.
If you would, then representing the petitioner, if you would state your name and address.
Yes, my name's David Wright. I'm a commercial real estate broker. My office is at 111 Veterans Boulevard, Suite 1810 in Metairie.
And you're here on behalf of the petitioner.
I am.
Thank you, sir.
Just real briefly, it's a building that's not a warehouse. It's a retail three-bay center. It was built to be a three-bay center. It's got drop ceilings, 2x2 ceiling tiles. It has no warehouse space or roll-up. It's a beautiful retail center is what it is. It's 10 years old, and it's in excellent condition.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone who wishes to speak in opposition? I close it to the public, and I bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Matthews.
Yes, sir. Well, the gentleman that just spoke, I don't remember your name. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. David? David Wright. Okay, Mr. Wright. You say it's a three-bay
Yes,
building
it's-
now for retail. What is in the building now? Is there anything operating in it now?
There's nothing in there. It's 1108 usable square feet each unit. And it's a retail center. It's drop ceiling.
Okay.
It has two sides that are stucco.
Okay.
It's kind of a plaster type.
Are you
stucco.
asking for the change to comply with retail stores rather than the I-1 industrial? Is
Yeah,
that the purpose of
somehow it
this?
got stuck on I-1 zoning on it, and it's really HC2.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Matthews to approve, a second by Commissioner Randolph. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I would ask for a vote. The motion carries. Is there any old business to come before the commission? Is there any new business? I have a motion to adjourn.